I appreciate that you stay. Well, one of the challenges of the Ghana Meteorological Agency is inadequate logistics. Well, this may be an open secret, but it has been confirmed by the Director of Research of the agency. On the occasion of World Meteorological Day, on the theme Understanding Clouds, the Director of Research, Mr. Charles York, opens up to Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba about the challenges of the agency. Well, Maxwell is here in the studio and he will help us answer a few questions like how Mr. York says the lack of logistics is hampering the ability to forecast the weather. You're welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm good, Gipsy.
Good to see you. You look like you need some sleep. Am I right?
No, I've actually slept from 8 a.m.
Okay. Well, that's why you are at the Meteorological Agency. How are they telling you? What are they telling you about the resource? I mean, we know they're ill-resourced. That's what they've said over and over again. But how really are they saying it is hampering their ability to do their job effectively?
Okay, so for the man that I spoke to today, he's the Director of Research, as you rightly mentioned, Mr. Charles York. He says like basic tools that they need to be able to carry out, important weather forecasts. Sometimes they do not get them, and logistics like vehicles, sometimes things that they need to, properly maintain the facilities that they have there. You're unable to get them because of lack of funds. He actually tells me, should I say, I don't have the right adjective to describe it, but he tells me about how even for some calibrations they have to go to Kenya to be able to do those calibrations. So we can listen to him right now.
Yes, logistics. That is something that has to be done for Ghana Meteorological Agency, because it's not just deploying the meteorological instrument there. There should be frequent checks.
Okay.
Frequent maintenance schedules. There should be calibration. Now, in Ghana, we don't have a section that calibrates our instrument. We sometimes carry some of our instrument to Kenya to be calibrated.
Wow.
Yes, and so all these things.
Why can't they be calibrated here?
We don't have the funds to buy them. To buy the equipment for the calibration purposes, and so you have to carry all these things to. Sometimes you go to Nigeria, sometimes you go to Kenya for all these things to be calibrated, which does not work well. And even vehicles for constant checks, they are not there.
All right, so that is Maxwell speaking with Mr. York there. What did he have to say about their predictions? Because most of the time that has been the area of the bone of contention, if you like, when it comes to the weather forecast in this country, basically. Why is it that they tend to get it wrong sometimes? I mean, if you get it wrong, it should be, like maybe once, twice, and it should be just slight difference from what you tell us. But we've known in this country that there are times we're expecting a storm and it doesn't come. There are times that you don't expect a storm and it comes. What explanation did he have for that?
Well, he has an interesting explanation to that particular phenomenon. But in fact, he says that they are aware of the backlash that they usually get from the public. He says even there are instances where when you travel outside Ghana, the feedback that some Ghanaians put out there, they tend to get them also when they travel outside. So they are very much aware of the backlash when they get their predictions wrong. But he says that for industry players, for people who need their services the most, so for instance aviation industry, he says that all the time they get their predictions right and they have so much confidence in them. So contrary to what a section of the public believes, that they are not doing well with their predictions, he says, I mean, industry players really believe their work very well.
So we can hear from him now on that.
I want to say that we've all been hearing this, and whenever we get visitors from Switzerland, they always tell us that even in the advanced countries, people go out there to lambash at them that whatever forecast that you give does not come in, and so on and so forth. But I want to say that the real users of meteorological information, they trust us.
Really?
The real users. But of course, they are
like the aviation industry. They trust your predictions.
Aviation industry, I don't think they have come out to say any ill thing about Ghana Meteorological Agency as far as their operations are concerned.
Wow.
Maybe it may be one or two lapses here and there. You have to put a meteorologist here and there. But I don't think we have had any serious accident that have been connected to Ghana Meteorological Agency for providing wrong information,
Wow.
as well as even to the marine industry.
So would you say the criticism is justified?
Oh, I
the
would
criticism
say
that you get
so,
from a section of the
because
public.
A section, you know, I've always said that you don't have machines that you don't have machines that actually will pinpoint that we're going to have rains maybe at Nima and maybe Mamobi or Kotobabi will be dry.
Okay.
Okay. All that the forecaster sees is that there is a moving cloud, rain-bearing cloud towards Accra. Because if you look at our screens, Accra is just a little town. Okay. The area of Accra, the whole of Accra is just a peanut. If you observe it on the screen. And so it is always difficult to say that you're going to get rain at this point and there will be no rain here. And so I've always said that if the meteorologist or the forecaster tells you that we're going to have rain in areas around maybe northern part of Accra, definitely some areas may not get rain, other areas may get rain. And so to some people the prediction are true, others may say that the prediction never materialized. And so that is how it goes. But I think we are doing our best.
Yeah, I'm sure he's saying, I think we're doing all the best, or all that we can.
We are.
The theme is about understanding clouds.
Yes.
But we know that they don't have the kind of instruments that they need to read the clouds. What did he say about that? Okay,
so when we're going to the weather station, actually, my thinking was that when we go, we'll be sent to a room and maybe like there's a system in place, there's a machine in place that will be used to detect, you know, the kind of clouds that, you know, we have. But that is not the case. He tells me that there is no particular instruments that you use to, you know, observe the cloud. So what they do is that where we're standing, sometimes that's where they stand to observe the cloud.
So they observe us and they just look at the cloud.
Just like how humans do.
And then make a prediction.
Exactly. He actually took me through a book. It's a International Cloud Atlas, and it has different pictures of clouds. So you have the cirrus, you have the cirrocumulus.
Which basically means that you can look at the clouds and make a prediction of what's going to happen next.
Exactly. So if you see an NB cloud in the picture, you'll be able to tell that, okay, so there'll be rains accompanied with thunder and then lightning and all of that.
That isn't scientific enough. No wonder they get it wrong sometimes. But I believe they're still working on their logistical whatever.
But I don't know if really it's a thing peculiar to Ghana or it's a global thing that we don't use any specific instruments to observe the cloud.
Did he say anything about that?
I think what he said was much to the point that we do not have. There isn't.
Not that Ghana doesn't have.
Exactly.
But there isn't.
Yeah, so it's just like human observation.
Trust me, I'm sure there is. But anyway, he spoke about how the aviation industry rely on them for, you know, predictions of how the weather is going to look like. But it's a very sensitive area, the aviation industry, so that if you get it wrong, you endanger people, you put people's life in danger. How are they able to how are they able to get it right all the time with them? And their issues are times where they got it wrong and that it was really costly?
Okay, so I'm sure you've experienced, you know, turbulence. I mean, mid-air, we all go through that. I mean, we are out there.
You say we all go through that. Not everybody who travels travels by air. For you to say we all go through that. No, we all don't go through that.
Okay, so that experience of turbulence. So I was asking him the connection between that and then the clouds. You know, as you rightly mentioned, this year's theme is understanding clouds. So I was asking him what really is the connection between what they do and then the aviation industry. He tells me that there are some particular clouds that are really dangerous to aircrafts. So he specifically mentioned the NB cloud, for instance. So there are times when they do the observation and they sight the NB cloud in a particular direction, they would have to relay that information to the aviation industry, to the Kotoka International Airport, and tell them that there's an NB cloud in this particular direction, so the pilot shouldn't go, you know, because that NB cloud particularly is very, you know, gigantic, and it has the potential of grounding an aircraft when it comes into contact with it. So he tells me that they play a very huge role, you know, in the aviation industry as well. So we can hear him
on that now as well. When we return after hearing from him, we'll talk about whether or not they're taking advantage of technological, you know, improvements and how that will help their work. Watch him now.
You know, aviation industry depends so much on weather information that is given to them. And normally with the formation of cumulonimbus cloud, for example, if an aircraft is flying from Kotoka to maybe Heathrow Airport, now they normally give alternate airport to the pilots. Maybe they may give Stansted. So instead of going to Heathrow, if conditions are not favorable, it goes to Stansted. But on route forecasts, that is when the plane is about to take off and then when it is cruising. And if there's formation of cumulonimbus cloud there, normally the pilots are advised either to hold on to cancel the flight for some time, or they change their route.
That's the
cumulonimbus
cloud.
Cloud stands so tall. It is a low-level cloud, but it stands tall, about maybe more than 10 kilometers into the atmosphere. And so if you are not careful, there's no way the pilot will be able to dodge. Okay, and so it is better for you to avoid it completely. Because even if you fly on top of the cumulonimbus cloud, that is where the turbulence occurs, because there's so much energy in it. Okay, and so if you try to fly over, you fall into turbulence. And if you want to go through it, that is even the dangerous aspect of it, because we have the updraft and the downdraft. The updraft will carry you onto the higher levels to about 700 millibar level, and then it drops the plane. And if you come so low, we have what is called the gusty winds that is spilled onto the surface. It is also so dangerous. So it is number one enemy of aviation industry.
At the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Maxwell Agbagba.
Well, you've seen the weather there. Musah Agbagba is still here with me in the studio. Wrapping up this conversation will be whether or not you pay attention yourself to all this technological advancement and how it helps us to predict the weather. Because I mean, there are places that if you travel to, your phone can just give you an update of what what the weather is going to look like. Do you get the sense too, while you spoke to him, that they're taking advantage of these technological advancements to make it easier for all of us to get access to weather updates?
I mean, making deductions from the conversation that I had with him, they are really challenged when it comes to logistics. So clearly, I'm sure they also have a problem when it comes to the use of technology and detecting that there will be rain, there will not be rain, and all of that. But I think maybe going forward is something that you would have to really look at, improving. And then maybe as a people also, we need to change our attitude about how we approach the weather. For instance, I mean, I know people who flip the channel when there's weather forecast.
When the lady on GBC comes, and I mean, it's been like that for a very long time. When the lady on GBC comes and says it's time for the weather forecast,
so let's just flip the channel, and people, I mean, don't really pay attention to what they wear on a specific day according to the weather pattern. I mean, people don't really do that in Ghana. Personally, on World Meteorological Day, I think I can make that confession that I don't really pay attention to it. I wear anything on any day. I mean, I don't really pay attention.
I see. Okay, thank you very much for passing through. Maxwell Agbagba, our reporter here, who has been interacting with Mr. York, who is Director of Research at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, even as we celebrate World Meteor Day. Let's move on from Meteo and talk about something else. Well, last week, President Akufo-Addo stated in a state interview on national television, GTV, that his ministers have declared their assets as required by law. The problem, however, is that the declaration has not been made public for you and I to know the exact assets owned by these public officers. Well, some anti-corruption groups will not rest just by this statement by the president. Senior fellow at the Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Tunisia Musah, says it's about time that such information is not kept secret. He was speaking at a forum on strengthening responsiveness on corruption in Accra.
The institutions which are supposed to investigate corruption do not have enough cases to report. If you look at the statistics, even what Mr. Ayanda gave to us this morning, for I think 69 or so for last year. That's the whole country you're talking about.
Now, last week, the president told us on GTV that his ministers have declared their assets. I don't have evidence of that. I haven't heard or seen that. Do you have any evidence? Do you know of it? And is it enough for him to just tell us that they have declared their assets and so we should just take it in good faith like that?
Well, I think asset declaration is one key area for if you want to engage in anti-corruption in this country. For it to be effective, it must be something which is public. If you want to make yourself a public officer at a very high level, then you must be ready to let us know what you have at the time you're coming in. Because like I said, the system finds a way to make sure that the political parties are run, and the political parties don't have arms and legs. They act through individuals. So it is the individuals who are in public office who will do all kinds of things to get resources to fund their political parties. And that is the reason why it is important we know what they have coming in and what they will have going out. Yes, it is problematic. I agree that it is very problematic that we do not have access to the asset declaration forms of the persons who are subject to the declarations.
How should it be known? How should it be done so that we all know about it?
Well, it should be such that we should all have the opportunity to request. If we request for it, it should be easily given to us. But also, government can be proactive. Yeah. If you want to be a minister of state, it should be published in the daily. It shouldn't cost that much to publish it in a. Let's know what you have and what you don't have.
Dr. Musah with Hannah Odami there, what he also says that he's not confident of the outcome of the committee's work. He's been explaining his position.
The reason why I'm not very confident of an extremely good outcome of the investigations is from the posture of the committee. I would have thought that if the committee is very much interested in getting to the bottom of that case, the committee will be very much receptive to everyone who is critical in providing information to the committee to get a person to freely provide such information to the committee. I am aware they are interested, or they have made the public aware that people could submit memoranda or memorandum to them. However, if you have a very key witness, somebody whose name has come up from the beginning of this whole saga before you and demanding to speak to the substance of the matter, it baffles me how you will use some technical rule to deny the public from listening directly to whatever that witness has to say.
But how exactly does this translate into your concern of the outcome?
Well, the way it translates into my concern is that it sends a signal that if you're coming to us, we can use the technical rules to make sure that the public doesn't hear directly whatever the committee is doing. Now, mind you, if the witness writes a memoranda to the committee, it's not everybody who is going to be disposed to going after the report of the committee, or even knowing whatever is concerned in the memorandum that the witness would have submitted. The important thing also is that you spend so much time debating whether or not to allow the person to give testimony. And I think that time was more than enough for the witness to have said whatever he wanted to say. So that makes me very concerned.
Well, let's go to Parliament now. And Chairman of the Parliament's Appointment Committee, Joseph Wusu, has been speaking to Joy News as the committee that investigated the bribery allegation against him and his members prepared to present their reports to Parliament next week. Well, Mr. Wusu says he can't wait to have the report published because he's convinced he'll be vindicated. He spoke to our parliamentary correspondent, Joseph Opoku Gakpo.
In talking of how the committee has held up, some members of the committee raised some of those concerns and made those allegations and all of that. How have things been managed in that regard in terms of still holding together as a committee, even in the light of what could be described as, kind of acrimony between you, the members, following those allegations?
Well, the first thing is largely about me and the chief whip. Strictly, on the side of the majority, there's really nothing. If you look at the allegations critically, it's about some members of the minority side of the committee alleging that the chief whip, who's a deputy ranking, has collected money from me. The disagreement is between them, between myself and the deputy ranking member. There's no disagreement. So it's really difficult when you think that people are accusing you unfairly, and at the same time you're supposed to moderate and treat them fairly. It is. But I've trained and worked as a lawyer for many years, and I'm guided strictly by the rules of Parliament. As much as possible, I've learned to keep my emotions down and let the rules of the game guide me. If I left to my emotions probably, the situation would have been different. But as much as possible, I try to let not my emotions, but rather the rules of the game prevail. It's not been easy, to be frank. I mean, whether you like it or not, you're human. You look at people who have falsely accused you. If you had your own way, you pretend they don't exist. But you can't, because it's no longer about you. It's about the state. It's about your leadership style. It's about leadership of Parliament. So
when you see them, for example, give the indication during committee sittings that they have questions to ask and that kind of thing, what runs through your head?
Well, I'll give you the option. This is not my personal work. It's the work of the committee. But we often agree at the leadership level that for this candidate, he's a former MP, he's a leader, we will allow 3 persons on either side to ask questions, or the leadership will continue. As for this candidate, 1 person each, depending on the CV and what we know of the person. So that agreement is always reached before we start. And sometimes the leadership suggests to me who should call. I should call when we agree on the numbers.
Satisfied with how far the Jogati committee has gone into its work thus far?
I would have wished that they would have completed by now. But I understand the exigencies of the work in Parliament. All of them are the members of the committee, are also members of substantive committees. This is budget time. Before budget, we went to State of the Nation debate. The clerks that are serving them are also serving other committees. So I understand the exigencies of the work here. So I'll give them, and I think it is important they get a space to do what is right. Nobody should force them. Nobody should push them. Let them take all the time they need. Even though Parliament allowed them 4 weeks, I understand that the last previous week or so, somebody said he had fresh evidence. If you don't listen, it will become a basis for impugning the integrity of the report. So you should give everybody the time and the space to provide whatever evidence they have, so that in the end you have a conclusion to the matter.
And you continue to have full confidence that you'll be exonerated in the end?
I am exonerated already. Listen, I think sometimes people misconstrue what this is about. This committee was set up as a result of my complaint to the Speaker that I've been defamed. My option was to go to court, but because of the challenges of litigating with a sitting member of Parliament, I was seeking the Speaker's permission to use the Speaker's premises, Speaker's office, to serve the processes. Then the Speaker, in consultation with the leadership, decided that this matter of defamation be settled here in the House. So it is my complaint that is being investigated, whether indeed I have been defamed. If those who made the allegation cannot prove it, then indeed it may mean that I have been defamed. If they can prove it, then I have no case. So there's no issue of being exonerated. It is those who made the allegation who have the responsibility to show that indeed they have a basis for making that allegation. And fortunately for us, the evidence were heard in public. You were all there. I don't know what evidence they put there to justify you. So I will not comment on the conclusions that will come, but so far, if there were any evidence suggest that I did anything, it would be in the public already, even before the committee would come to its conclusion.
And still in Parliament, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has assured Parliament that individuals who assaulted a senior police officer at the Flagstaff House after the NDC lost power will be brought to book. It will be recalled that a video of the assault on ASP Ni Nanka Bruce, who is director in charge of the VVIP at the Flagstaff House, went viral on social media in January. Mr. Derry told Parliament in response to a question by Kumbungu MP Ras Mubarak that the Accra High Court has issued a warrant for the arrest of 2 persons, including an ex-policeman who are responsible for the assault.
I think that those comments were spot on. I think we face security challenges. What happened in Westminster, and indeed in the White House as well, when a gentleman was able to get in, didn't mean that there was no existing security arrangement. It simply means that people are able to beat or to breach such security arrangements, which should keep us perpetually on our toes to make sure that we continue to refine and to enhance the security protection that we have in critical places such as the presidency, the Jubilee House, and also Parliament, and indeed all citizens, because I want to make it clear that the President of Ghana is interested in making sure that every single Ghanaian or resident in Ghana feels safer. So yes, it's a thing we have to continue revising, and in consonance with the commitment of His Excellency the President, we'll continue to be doing training, appropriate training, capacity building of the personnel, and we hope with support when we get resources after the budget has been approved, that would also equip them adequately. And so, yes, we will do that. Parliament is a matter of concern.
Yes, because we've been speaking to some MPs in the light of the Westminster incident, and we know that that issue even came up during your vetting about adequate security for Parliament in general. What assurance can parliamentarians have that going forward this House will be safe?
Yes, I'm working on the security of parliamentarians in the context of working on the security for every Ghanaian, including you standing here. And therefore, we ask that parliamentarians should give us their residential addresses, and we intend to give them security protection for the night. The gruesome murder of the late Honorable J.B. Dankwa is something that we cannot overlook, and so we will start with that. We also expect that we will recruit more police personnel this year. That is what clearly the President has directed, and rightly so. And he is also interested in the kind of training, the adequate training of our police personnel to know how to deal with different situations. When you are dealing with a demonstration, what your attitude should be like. That's why he kind of condemned, and I agreed, to the way students were treated in Kumasi. Of course, now we have an ongoing one of UCC. So it's a matter of balance in a democratic dispensation. And so we are going to continue to work on that and improve the security.
I want to come back to Parliament House itself. Concerns about scanners not working and people are getting in, concerns about people still managing to get in through entrances which is meant for members of staff, concerns about vehicles coming in from outside, not adequate check not being done. Would anything be done to further improve the security of the House itself?
Yes, I think something should be done. Once we have a police station here now, so what we can do is provide the police service, but we also have the Marshal of Parliament who is in charge of the security of Parliament. And so what you're going to have there, you have the apparatus, you have the people, the implementation must be meticulously and diligently pursued. And we will need the cooperation of the marshal here, because although we have the police here, it's the marshal who takes control of the security of the place. And we have to continue working on that. And so I think that it's the same for the presidency, the same for every other place. We're working towards recruiting more police so that the average Ghanaian citizen is better secure, and also that the rules are there and we should implement the rules. And when it comes to that, I want to invite all Ghanaians to cooperate, because you need to report people.
The victim himself is shot dead. So actually we cannot confirm what ran into his mind, what actually he wanted to achieve. Either he's a terrorist or he has some issues with some people, we cannot tell. But we're looking at the footage. He drove on many people through the bridge, and then after that he was stabbing other people. So we cannot tell, but it's unfortunate. And this brings back to the security system that we have in all the parliaments around the globe, including Ghana's parliament. Sometimes we can imagine the intruders, how people come in and leave without any serious security checks. So if somebody has issues with an MP or even a journalist, the person can take an undue advantage over the lapses in the security arrangement and do harm to an individual. So the security of this parliament should be up and doing, so that they can up their game and do what is right. Who knows what will happen tomorrow?
It was very disturbing, very worrying. UK being our colonial master, if they're going through such troubles, we should be very much worried. Again, it sends signals to us members of parliament here in Ghana that look, we are also not that safe, because you cannot tell when some fundamentalist group or groups of that nature or any individual, will just decide to launch an attack, on this house. So we are worried, and I think that it will be very pertinent for us to heighten security within the precincts of Parliament, to forestall any such possibility. We stand with the United Kingdom, and we know that they are a people who will always defend the values that they hold dear. And so will we, as part of the Commonwealth, also do all we can, to support the legislative arm of government to see to it that the people of Ghana, just as well as people anywhere else, live in freedom.
So those are some ministers of state, some members of parliament there also calling for increased protection following attacks in the UK parliament, and of course some reassurance from Minister of Interior Ambrose Derry there. We're still here on The Pulse with me, Gifty and Dopian.